Fearless Leader Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting session of Fearless Leader Podcast. My name is Jason Belton. This evening, I have our math guru on. I have something special for the educators in the house, Mr. Hooman Behzadpour, and he will be explaining all of the intricacies and details of what he's done throughout his travels to sort of bring up math scores and with students that he's touched all over, from school and high school to summer programs, all of that. I've been around to other school buildings, showed them our test scores, and folks have always wondered, who is this guy? So tonight they get to see a little bit and understand a little bit about what makes this guy tick and who this guy, Hooman Behzadpour, is. Good evening, Mr. Behzadpour.
Good evening, man. What an intro. I feel like I need you. I got to hire you as my hype man.
That's my guy. All right, Bez. Well, listen, I do want folks to understand from whence you came. So can you tell us a little bit about your background, Bez? Like what, I don't even care if you want to go talk to us a little bit about what you did in college, like what prompted you to get into math to the degree in which you are. Just give us a little timeline.
Sure thing. So I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington, and I went to the University of Washington, so way on the other side of America.
All right.
And yeah, I really did not know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to study, but I knew I liked math. But I was told by a lot of people, and this is bad advice, so children out there, don't take this advice, but I was told, don't study math, it's too theoretical, and you won't get anything out of it. So I was like, what's the next best thing? I guess engineering. So I studied mechanical engineering.
Okay.
And it was nice. I liked the math behind it, but I just didn't have that passion. I didn't have the fire. And don't get me wrong, engineering's a great field, and there's a lot of good you can do with it. But I was looking to do something with more of a direct impact on humanity.
Okay.
So I was really not sure what I wanted to do. And then one day I saw a sign for an organization called Teach for America. And what they said sounded pretty interesting. It resonated with me. And I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. So I applied, went through the application, and it's a pretty competitive application, but a few months later, I was accepted to come out to the greater Newark area and teach high school math.
Okay.
This is brand new for me. I had never left. I've been as far east as Kansas, but I'd never been anywhere on the East Coast. Okay. And lo and behold, I was packing my bags, I think a week after graduation, and coming out to Jersey.
Not in Kansas
anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Nope.
That's right. That's right. Ben, so that's how we got you through Teach for America?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think you're going to have to send them an angry email or something.
No,
a
not
complaint.
at all. Not at all. Blessed to have you. Bez, give us a walk down of, so I'm not sure who actually introduced or came up with the idea to put you in a space of that pre-calc sort of space that you wound up being placed in and owning. Walk us through that process, Bez.
Yeah, sure thing. So I actually owe this to Miss Faith Alcantara, who you know quite well. She was the principal when I was first hired. And I still remember this first conversation we had. She was talking about the classes that I was going to have, and it was OSA, which is a appeals portfolio class, geometry, and I think algebra. And then in passing, she had mentioned calculus, which was like, I don't know who I'm going to give that to. And I pleaded with her, oh man, please give me calculus. I love calculus. Like all math is great, but calculus is next level. And though I really owe it to her, she decided to give it to me, which was a very bold move. Usually you don't give that to a first year teacher fresh out of college, especially one who's like just new to New Jersey or whatever. But she gave it to me. And the first year we had a general level calculus class. And then after that, we decided, our students can handle this. There's no reason why not. Let's make it AP. But we realized that we didn't have students on the right trajectory, on the right path. And namely that our seniors were taking pre-calculus. So there's obviously no time for them to take calculus. So that's really what gave us the idea behind the summer pre-calculus, such that our top-notch students who were taking, well, at that time it was algebra 2, but they were taking that to junior year. They could take pre-calculus in the summer, and then their senior years, they could take calculus. So thanks to that decision, we were able to finally have a steady cohort of students that could take calculus. And that was really the genesis of our AP program, so to speak.
Bess, let me ask you though, did you have in teaching like the pre-calc, coming up with the pre-calc sort of pipeline that you put together, was there ever a criteria? Because like right now you have no criteria. You just want the kid. So was there ever a criteria set? Like, did you, it's because it's math. And so, you know, folks kind of get like hesitant about having just any student in their math class. Like, you know, so initially along the lines, was there just like, just give me the kid, just give me the kid and I'm going to teach them pre-calc and calc. What was the starting point for that?
Yeah, so the first few years, if anything, I think we had issues of not reaching enough students and that it was brand new. I think my first year we had about 19 or 20, which isn't bad, but we weren't hitting nearly enough students as we could have. And really the main issue was just letting the students know about this class. And after a few years of having successful students and successful results, you know, students they talk, you should take this class, you should take the class. And we're at the point now where there's no recruitment needing to be done. It's the students know it is, they want to take it. And the nice thing about the summer program is, I mean, I have a pre-test, so to speak, quote unquote, but that's nothing restrictive. If a student doesn't do well on it and it's basic algebra 1, then they just meet with me and we catch them up to where they need to be. But the really nice thing about the summer program is any student that wants to come on in. It gives them a little bit of a trial period. It's pretty evident the first week, like for students, if this is something I want to take, or maybe this isn't right for me. And it's really like a no stakes, good first week introduction to everyone. So I don't need to make any requirements. The students basically self-select, and then that first week we figure out like who it's a good match for and who it's not a good match for.
You got to go a little bit into detail with that summer program, Bez. I've been in the hallways. I used to laugh when kids would be jumping out of parents' cars, and I used to be like, "Are they going to a math program? And what is Bez selling, or is he making breakfast?" And even the joke about the breakfast, I'll never forget. I saw a kid jumping out of his mom's car, running down the street. He had like an egg sandwich, like just squeezing it. Just he had to get to. I got to get the math. I got to get. What is going on in the class? A math class that has these students. So I got to get the class on time. And if it was 40 or 50 that started the program, 40 and 50 ended. So walk me through that, Bez. Like, how is that? How are you keeping that attention and that energy for what was the summer program? 6 to 8 weeks, about 6, 7 weeks?
Actually, usually 5 weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, but first, let's get the record straight. If I was cooking breakfast, they'd be running the other way. Just for the record. But no, I mean, this sounds cheesy, but math's a very beautiful thing, and it can be done very fun. And we see each other 5 hours a day for 5 weeks straight in the middle of the summer, and that takes a lot of commitment and dedication.
Right.
But I think the key is like, I have a natural passion for math, and I do my best to exude that to the students. And then in a class surrounded by people that are similar minded, and for the most part, they all enjoy the math. Like you just build that class environment where they want to learn, they want to have fun. And typically we can't just do work for 5 straight hours. So we break it up with like fun games and stuff that even though the students think it's fun, like there's still math behind it and it's hitting their brains in a variety of different ways. But really it's just that culture. And I mean, I do a tiny part, but really 99% of it is the students set it themselves, and they self-control, self-police, self-regulate, and they make it fun for themselves. Like my style is to make it very engaging. If I have students that are dry and not responding, we'd all be miserable. So really, the students have themselves to thank for making it an enjoyable experience.
Bez, you know what, when you said your style, it sort of hit me for a second, because I don't see the small group centers. I don't see all of the stuff that you might read about, that folks, the educational jargon that comes in about this skill needs, it needs to look like this, and small group and rotations and all of that. Like I didn't see all of that when I come into your class. So I want you to speak on that for a second, but I also want to say what I do see. When I walk in, I never forget you were teaching a test. I mean, you had a test, and I was floored, because it was like you asked something about 1776, and it was like history questions in your math quiz, and so you blew me. I was like, I said maybe Bez picked up the wrong paper in the staff room or something, but for whatever it was, the kids knew that they had to work through these problems in order to get the correct answer. So that was like, oh my goodness, that was cross curriculum at its best. But walk me through that, Bez, like your style of teach.
Yeah. So overall, pedagogical philosophy I have is that it's a pretty common one, but that the students should guide the discovery themselves of the lesson. And as much as possible, I don't try and teach anything. There's maybe, at least in calculus, there's maybe 2 topics where I have to directly teach, but really every other day, it's me just guiding a conversation and guiding a discovery of the topics. And there's many different like philosophies of how that's best done. But I feel like, especially in a class where there's such a strong class culture, that we have one, you can say like small group, but it's one large group and we all do the discovery together.
Right.
So naturally, like people talk with their partners and things like that, but we're all at like every place together. And in this class where we can all do the work, the expectation is that we're all doing the work together. And it's not that we're pushing anyone down, but we're bringing everyone up together. And those that are more advanced, like, yeah, sure, there's like challenge problems and extensions I can give them, but we all go together. There's never a place where I'm like, oh, this group of 5, like, they need some remediation. They need to be cut. Like, no, we have this expectation of building it up. And whether it's the students, whether it's the teaching style, whatever it's going on, I've been blessed that through the years for any given lesson, like I know that at the end of the lesson, every single student has that objective mastered and they've been able to pick it up. And I really think it is to that discovery and that they all leave with an actual mastery of the concept, not just the topic of, I know the procedure, I know the skills, but even without doing any math and just words, I can explain what I am doing and why I'm doing it. And I think once you get that, then every student succeeds on their own.
I like the idea of this is what you guys do as a group, Bez. I like that concept because when you walk into your class, that's all you see. And I've had conversations with students who were in Algebra 2 or other geometry and was like, listen, like what, not understanding that, you know, you had an AP course, but like what's going on in that class. And I do like the idea that how you don't get so bogged down with it being math being, or just being in this AP world. And folks don't know, you know, I pulled you out of class and we walked into other classes and I was like, Bez, this kid is phenomenal. And you were like, let's give him a shot, right? Like it was like, hey, like, let's see what they know. And, you know, I think, you know, folks might get sort of confused of thinking that, you know, because you teach at a certain level, that you only see that kid that's at a certain level and not understand that you can walk into a class and say, you know what, this kid might not belong here. You know, this kid might need to take a shot, you know, in something that's a little bit, that has a little bit more rigor to it, you know. And so I definitely always appreciated that. And those are things that people don't see.
Yeah. So I think through the years, I've taught every subgroup of students and every math class save statistics. But yeah, so I've covered it all. And like, I think you hit it on the head that there are, well, every student's a gem, but there are gems in every class and there are students with untapped potential in every class.
And you
so obviously so we see like calculus, yeah, we know like those students like know their math, but like you can walk into any classroom and I guarantee you, no matter the class, there are a few students in there that are unfortunately just bored out of their mind and not being challenged to the extension that they can. And that's not an orange thing. That's literally any classroom in the country, probably any classroom in the world, that we need to be doing our best to be pushing all students in all classes and really pushing students up and not letting them being bogged down by.
Right. Bez, I don't have your data in front of me, but it will be. You'll see it. And once we do our edits in our clips, you'll definitely see the numbers and how you've grown through the years with the AP numbers. I love the fact that when we talked a few times and you even explained to me, we were talking about data and we were talking about how your numbers have grown. And just like you even said just now, you had to bring me back, Bez, to a space that reminded me, hey, Mr. Belton, hey, Jay, these scores weren't always like this, right? So walk me through a little bit about what that looks like, Bez, when, you know, you really need somebody to sort of like take a chance on you, right? So because initially, I mean, you didn't come out the park, you know, knocking it over the gate. So walk us through, like, what's that feeling, Bez, when you know you can make this thing happen, but you just need some time to do it?
Yeah, I really, again, owe it a lot to the administration. So first with Ms. Faith Alcantara, and then with yourself, and we've had Dr. Morgan as well. But administrators that trusted and supported and know that in a non-arrogant way, but when you have something good, let's give it time. Like the tree's not going to grow overnight. It starts as a seed, as a sapling, and it goes from there. And again, I've been blessed where, not that I've needed much, but anytime I've needed anything, like I know I could go to administration and they would give it to me. And more realistically, I've been blessed with administration that won't bother me when things are,
That's right.
yeah, that's a blessing. You don't always have that, but
just
like,
let him do what he does. Just let him do what he does.
Yeah. Set it and forget it. But no, like, honestly, like things don't happen overnight. And like, much like anything else in any field on earth, like you do something and the more you do it, the better off you get. And so I've definitely improved as a teacher, but again, I don't want to lose sight of when we're talking, I have yet to take any test. None of these are my scores. These are all the students. And when we're talking about this, we're talking about hundreds of students through the years who have shown that, wow, just given an opportunity, they can blow it out of the ballpark and get literally a 5, which is a perfect score on the AP test, which is as tough a test as you can do in college.
When you say given an opportunity, Bez, but it has to be just more than just given an opportunity, though, right? Because I mean, it's given the opportunity with what? Like finish that with like.
Yeah. So given let's say a proper opportunity. So like not just here, you can go take this test, but hey, here's an actual decent education. Here's a proper way of learning it. You stay with me, you follow along, and you're going to succeed. Again, through the years, we've had hundreds of students now who have shown that, yeah, given the opportunity, given a quality education, given quality surroundings and quality peers, like if I do the work and I stick with it, yeah, I'm going to get some college credit in a few months.
I like that I love that you so humble like that, Bez, because now when I talk to students, they have no problem with bringing up the relationship, right? And so we could talk about math and we could talk about pipelines, we could talk about summer programs, and we could talk about a bunch of things. And you even tapped into it a little bit when you spoke about that pipeline of students that's coming in, and they already know I need to, I want to my goal is to get into Mr. Behzadpour's class. I like the idea that I appreciate the humbleness, but speak to me about the relationships. Like you've had kids who've come through your class, Bez. I mean, we got kids sitting on Stanford, we got kids going to Berkeley, we got kids who, they were able to make some real decisions, and they were like, when we talk to them, it's like, hey, what really got you in it? And that we don't have that conversation without your name coming up. So walk me through the power of relationship.
Yeah. I wouldn't be where I am, and I don't think our students would be where they were without this two-way relationship. And that I'm very fortunate, you're very fortunate. We picked a profession where we can work with so many amazing young people on a daily basis. And we're starting to see the struggle with it when we're virtual. Like we're starting to lose that connection, and it's just
it's
so disheartening.
Because
I know.
how hands-on I am. It's hurting.
I know. So what am I supposed to do? But yeah, the teaching is great. I obviously love the math, but it's really building those connections with dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of students every year, and really getting to know them. Because as you well know, we have so many amazing students, and part of the culture and part of the connection and part of the buy-in the students have is knowing that, hey, there's an actual relationship here. Like I care about my teacher, and hopefully they realize that, hey, my teacher cares about me more than just in the math. It's like the math is great, but like I really care about them. Like what's going on in your life? What are your highs? What are your lows? How's your family life? How are your friends? What are your post-high school plans? Is it college? Great. How can I help in that regard? Is it something else? Great. How can I help in that regard? Is it IBK? I have no idea. Great. How can we help give you some clarity? But really, that relationship is so key, because otherwise, I really don't think I would have the buy-in. And without that buy-in, I really don't think the students would have nearly the level of success that they have. But it really ultimately comes down to that relationship and that mutual respect we have with our students. And the one more thing I would add is that, when I meet with my students, the very first time, there's very few like ground rules or anything, but the number one is make sure that I don't lose my trust in you. And that's me talking to them. So like by default, I trust my students. And through the years, I've had very few people take advantage of that. And what do I mean by trust my students?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. So just, I'll be concrete. Most quizzes, they grade on their own. Homeworks, I post not just the answers, but the worked up, straight up solutions, like how I got every single thing. They grade themselves, they make corrections, they turn that in. to be honest, I don't even look at it most of the time. They put a little check saying they checked it out, and then I give them their points. Everything we do in that class is based on trust. And again, the students show by the end of the year that they've worked, that they haven't exploited that trust, and that it's really a great way. Because like ultimately, I don't want them learning for a grade. I don't want them stressing out over a grade, because ultimately, like, who cares in life if you get a 90 or an 87 or something? Like that's not the motivation. The motivation is, this is a pretty cool subject. If you're in this class, you probably like math or you like a challenge. Let's learn it for the love of the subject, and the grade will take care of itself. And I can say that I don't have an exact number, but I'm going to estimate conservatively 85% of my students on a given year end up with an A. So like the grade honestly takes care of itself. If you love the subject and you do the learning, then the grade would take care of itself. And that's all comes back to that trust in that respect.
Bez, how were you able to pull off though, like, so COVID last year, and then we knew that the College Board would modify some of the guidelines for testing. And so, you know, for me, as a building administrator, I was like, you know, gritting my teeth. And I was like, you know, how does this work with, you know, we were doing well, Bez. I mean, every year, I honestly have to say, you know, every year with under the leadership of you being in that AP course, these kids have grown. You know, we have more kids taking the exam. We have more students passing with the 4s or the 5s, you know, like a lot of things started to come into place. Like it's a good rhythm with it, and consistently. Like this is not like we got lulls. It's like just gradual process. What made you, or how were you able to, like, first talk about the consistency of it? Like, were you able to, did you start to like get on it, like when you felt it, you was like, I got this? That's number one. Then I want you to talk about, well, I want you to answer that, because I do have, I was so impressed about when you were able to get to, where you go to Florida, when you did your piece for College Board. Yeah. I was supposed to meet you there.
You stood me up. The waiter was like, where's the guy?
But I want you to speak to that, Bez, about that, being on the road with that consistency, and then we're going to jump right into that, because I know that was a big thing for you for College Board to, you know, kind of handpick you and move you along. So talk to me first about that. You catching your
just so we're clear, are you talking about through the years or specifically through COVID? Through the years?
No, through the years.
Yeah, so I think just being blessed to having taught this class, this is my 8th or 9th year, I lose track, but like every year you just, again, fine tune things. And honestly, at the point now, and College Board is pretty consistent in the types of questions they release and like the rigor and the stuff from year after year, where like pretty clear, like come January, I could tell you what like basically all of the students will get, just because after I'm like, I know this is a 5 level, this is a 4 level, this is a 3 level. And for the most part, like students can change up or down, but like for the most part, we have a pretty good feel of where they are. So like when the scores come out in July, maybe there's a few surprises here or there, but for the most part, it's like, yeah, of course you got a 5. Oh, of course you got a 5. Of course you got a 4. Like, we just know what's going on. Yeah, like, yeah, now that we know that level, we just build them up to there. And it's no longer if we get the students to there, it's like, how much dragging do I need to do to get them to that level?
Make it happen, right? That's the other thing. So, and you did, because I detoured a little bit. In COVID, you know, we test change, things happen, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what's about to happen? How were you able to pull off your numbers via COVID? Like, we went out, what, March, early March, mid-March? How were you able to pull off those numbers? Like, was it just built off of the solid relationships that you already had, and talk to me about that.
Yeah, being real, and we'll be real here right now, it really helped having those previous connections. I'm noticing it's a bit more challenging this year when I didn't previously have the connection with the students. But last year I had them through the summer, up until March. And a lot of them I'd even taught previously in Algebra 2, or even for my BC students, I taught the year previously in Calculus AB. But really, yeah, at that point we had such a strong rapport that every day they had me. I know now every class is live on Zoom or Google Hangouts or synchronous, but like back then that wasn't the case, but we still met every day live for, actually, I think an hour and a half for both of my classes. And
Mhm.
it was as seamless a transition as possible. It's like whatever we did in class, we just continued it to Zoom. And again, that's easy for me. I just sit here and teach. But like that showed the commitment of the students where, yeah, it would be very easy for them to be like, check out, I can do this later. I don't need to.
Right.
But they all logged in every day at the right time. They all did the work. They all stayed accountable. And we taught it the same exact way. The only difference, and I think this did help our students, is that College Board was also very upfront about what the new test would look like.
Okay.
So they were upfront that it would be 2 open-ended questions, and that the world is at the resource, so they could use any resources they want. So just a little deductive reasoning skills helped me figure out like the type of questions that were asked, and we just really worked with the students on preparing for that, even just the specifics of the logistics. So math was a little bit challenging. They would have to work it out, take a picture, upload it to the document, make sure they uploaded the right file type, and send it in time. And in 5 minutes on test day, that can be very stressful. So even the little things, as much as it annoyed the students, but like every day for like the 2 weeks before the exam, we would practice doing that. We would do a mock, they would take a picture, upload it, do the same thing. It got very tedious, but it was really beneficial. In that day of the test, no one had any issues. And the math is one thing, but you don't want any student having to stress about like logistics or technology or anything on the day of such a difficult test. So just practicing with the students as much as the actual test would be like. We do that in a typical year, and even in COVID, we did the same thing. Here's what the test would be like. Let's practice it as much as possible, such that test day is just like any other day. And if anything else, test day is easier because they generally make the mocks much harder than the actual test.
Bez, so, and we're not done, but I want to ask you an aside.
Yeah.
So Bez, if you had to have a conversation with an up and coming teacher who just got put into a seat where the administrators were like, listen, I need you to teach this AP class, or hey, I need you to teach this higher end course, or what would be your advice to them? Like, because you know, I've done it a few times, ask folks to, and you know, sometimes it's like this trepidation, like, I'm not sure, you know, what would be your advice?
Yeah. First, make sure you're fully in it. If you're not in it, let's be real, give it to someone else. The students deserve better. Like, make sure you're fully in it, and then never reduce your expectations for your students. That doesn't mean that you just like, oh, students get here, and if you're not here, figure it out on your own. No, you're going to work with them to get where you need to be. And it takes a lot of work, but you need to have a certain expectation and put in the work to help your students rise to that level. Otherwise, if we just stay flat or stay wherever the students are, that's not going to get them where they need to be. Because I truly do believe every student, specifically in the AP class, every student can rise up, but that doesn't mean that they start at that level. They may start here, but they have the potential latent within them. It's your job as a teacher to motivate them and work with them to basically maximize and reach their potential. So just, you know, give it your all and don't let any student fail. Like, work with them to get to where they need to be. And since they are in that class, if you have that rapport with them, they will get to where you need to be. That, and one more thing I would say is, enjoy it. Like, teaching an AP class is as fun as it gets. It's as rewarding as it gets. The material, I can really only speak to calculus and computer science, but like the material, the curriculum, it's so rich, it's so enjoyable. Like, really, like, it's going to be a lot of work, but enjoy the experience. You're not going to have a more enjoyable class ever.
Right. I don't remember walking to your classroom and seeing anybody like heads down. Oh my goodness. Like, it was always like, you know, the energy, and then, you know, you came and, you know, started your thing, and I'm always remembering you either handing somebody off the marker or somebody doing something, or somebody's turning to a neighbor, So I remember, you know, all of that. Bez, talk to me about Florida, man. So how did that go? Like, you know, and you know how humble you are. I think I might have found out you were going because I might have saw papers on your desk. I don't even think you told me.
Yeah, you had to front the bill. That's how you found out.
So walk me through that, Bez, because I know that was like, that had to be a highlight, right? Because I mean, through the years, your scores are going, increasing. You got this crazy rapport. Everybody, you know, around you sees it with these students. The students are connected to you. And then College Board says, we want you to come down and sort of show the world, or come down and show everybody in the College Board world what you've been doing. Walk me through that some, Bez.
Yeah, so what was this? 2019 at the AP annual conference, I was invited to come speak, and talk basically about this. So the journey of Orange High School's AP Calculus program through the years. And to be honest, yeah, it was enjoyable, but it was also a terrifying experience for me.
Wow, man.
I'm not one to like talk about myself or things like that or present. Like it's just not my style. But you know, every time that I had some trepidation about it, my friends and loved ones were like, "Yo, you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing this to like share your students' stories and to motivate other teachers to reach other students. So basically, get over it. Get out there. It's not about you. Get over yourself and go at it." So I made a presentation. I went out there and I did my thing. I presented, and it was very nice in that a lot of people came up to me afterwards and were just thanking me of like, it's so great to hear that this can be done at schools that are similar demographically to the place I teach. And like we always hear about like certain levels of schools, and like it's important to realize that any school and any zip code in this country can have AP Calculus or any AP success. And like we just gotta put in the investment and commitment and belief in the students, and they can and will succeed. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to keep in touch with quite a few of the teachers and work with them and see their growth through the years and doing. I'm sure they're going to be doing similar things at their respective schools in the years to come.
Right. You know what, Bez, I think it was important. You talked about teachers being able to have that conversation or have that line of communication open with their administrators. I always appreciated that line that existed where I could come to you. I could have those conversations about the importance of SAT, the importance of the pre courses, the pipelines, how we get the kids to get here, what's needed. So I always appreciated. So I could see how that pendulum would swing both ways, right? Where, that conversation still would have to happen between that administrator, to the instructor to say, listen, I see what it is you're doing and I know what you're capable of doing. But how do we progressively take these students as a package to the next level? So even on that concept of next level, Bez, I have two last questions for you. One being, what's next for you, Bez?
Whew, good question. Full disclosure, I'm really not certain. I'm not saying that to be coy or secretive or anything. I really don't know, but I do have this, I hope it's clear by now, but this passion for realizing that every student can have mathematical success and deserves a quality math education. And I've been blessed to be able to see that come to fruition in Orange. And I'm not quite sure what my next steps are, but I'm nearly certain it involves something of trying to make that come to fruition in many more places and many more similar zip codes across the country. So whether that's working with administrators, teachers, districts, organizations, I'm not quite sure yet, but really just trying to take the things I've been able to find here at Orange and take that and put it into many classrooms across many states across the country and really show to everyone that all students can and will succeed, and then just help provide teachers that opportunity to let all students succeed.
I love it, Bez. So my final question then is, Bez, if you could create that pipeline, because we deal with students, and we aren't the only school that have to deal with them in this sort of capacity, but we know, as far as math is concerned, and the LA, but as far as math is concerned, we definitely have students that come through deficient, like years behind. And I really just want your take, your honest take on, if there was something that you saw, or something that you thought that we might need to infuse in order to sort of clear out that pipeline, to have these students just a little bit better prepared as they get into the high school ages. Like, is there something that you see? I mean, it don't have to be the one thing or something. Of course, we're not going to be able to fix it overnight, but, because I just like how you kind of streamlined this process at that top level. Is there something else that you see to be like, if I had the opportunity?
Yeah. Give me the hardest question to ask. I think you're gonna give me a softball here. All right. All right, so two things I can come up with. Number one is culture. And I don't mean like student culture, I mean classroom culture. And outside of like maybe some of your honors classes at a lower level, let's be real. No one likes their math class. No one does. Even kids
Right.
that like math, they're bored in it. It's like, of course students aren't going to succeed in a class that they're just bored out of their
Bored in,
minds in.
right,
Yeah,
right.
it's like, what's the point? So like, there's no like magic solution, but working with teachers to make it actually enjoyable and lively. And I don't mean like dumb it down and like belittle or patronize the students with like little games here and there, but like
Mm-hmm.
you got to have a passion for what you do and like exude that to the students and do it in a way that reaches them. Like if we're just sitting there talking to them for 30 minutes or saying, here, do 40 problems in a book, the students that are struggling have no idea what to do. And the students that know what they're doing find this very dull and monotonous, and they
Right.
don't have a challenge, and no one's enjoying it. It's just a miserable experience. And I'm sure you know this. Going to most math classrooms, it's just teachers not having fun, students aren't having fun.
Right.
There's not much learning going on. So that's number one. And then along with that, it goes to what I said earlier, but like really thinking about how we're teaching the students. And I know like discovery and concepts are like catchwords and like buzzwords of the day or the
Right.
year or
Right.
even the decade, but like it really is true. And that I really do believe that even if a student lacks like the mathematical proficiency at this point to like do the skills,
Right.
they can still understand the underlying concepts. And that's going to help them so much in the math. So like, I know there's a school of thought, and it's the more prevalent school of thought, that teach them the skills and then the concepts. And if students can't get the skills, why even try and teach them the concepts? They're not going to get it at all. But I think it's the exact opposite. Even if I'm lacking some sort of math skills, like
Mm-hmm.
I can understand if it's taught correctly in an approachable way, I can
Right.
understand the underlying concept of, oh, that's what I'm trying to do. Maybe I don't know how to do it, but that's
Mm-hmm.
at least the goal. I understand that. I see why I'm here. I see how that connects to what we were learning last week. And I see a little foreshadowing of how it's going to connect to what I'm learning next week. And that I really think helps the students learn. So much nowadays, math learning is here's a formula, memorize it, and then plop it in 15 problems. And yeah, maybe I got those 15 problems right. Maybe I got them wrong, but I certainly didn't learn anything. I certainly don't know how to apply that in any certain way. And
Right.
certainly 3 weeks from now, after I haven't seen that in 3 weeks, I'm going to forget it because I
Right.
only memorized it and I didn't actually understand it. And until I understand in my own words, like what I'm actually learning, why I'm learning it, and how it actually relates to anything, I'm never going to have any sort of a mastery, and I'm not going to have any retention. So I think the two main things I would like would be culture and concepts.
One
Go ahead.
last question. One last one, Des.
Please be a softball. Go ahead.
Right. This one's gonna be easy for you. I was afraid of coming up in school. I was one of those students who was afraid of math. And I realized that over the years, I wasn't so afraid of math as I was afraid to ask the teacher for support. How do you get past that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Ultimately, I think I don't hate, but like it also comes back to the students and like they're taking that ownership, but creating that class culture where there's no shame in asking questions. Like you sat in my class, like every few minutes I stop. What are the questions? What are the questions? What are the questions?
Right. Yeah.
Students don't need to raise their hand. They just shout it out. Hey, what? Half the time it's like, what are you writing? I can't read that nonsense. But like whenever they have questions, like
Mm-hmm.
please feel free to ask. I don't care. I mean, ultimately, at the end, we want to get the answers right. But you're learning for a reason. You don't know the content. It's like, ask the question. Like, if you knew this already, you wouldn't be in my class. It's like really setting that expectation of just whatever you have, ask. I don't care if you're wrong. I make mistakes. Students know I make mistakes like 13 times a day. It's no issues there. Whenever we do homework and they grade their own, they make their corrections. I don't care right or wrong. As long as you do it all, you get all your points. So like, ultimately, it's just having that, going back to that culture again, but just be free, express yourselves, ask questions. Like I get legitimately annoyed at my students when they don't ask questions. It's like
Really?
we encourage, yeah, like you can ask them. The times I get the most annoyed is when it's just silence. And I know they don't know it because you know as a teacher when you taught it poorly or we're not. And like
Right.
times when I teach it poorly, I'm like, what are the questions? And they're all like, that's when I get annoyed with them. Like, yo, I know I did a bad job teaching this. Ask the questions.
You might be one of the few that could admit that, Des, but I love it. I love it. Listen, Des, I want to thank you. I want to first and foremost, I want to thank you for all that you've done for just every student that sat in front of you over the years, right? I love the lessons that I've been taught by you, because there were a few times you had to catch me when I was sort of standing on my soapbox and had to remind me, like, listen, my scores didn't always look like this. So I appreciate that when you pull me back in sometimes, when I get kind of crazy and overzealous. I love it. But I definitely, again, I think for me, it comes back to, regardless on, who introduced you to AP Calc and how you were able to put the pipeline together, and how you were able to keep it going, and through different administrators, at least, Bez, were able to sell the idea, right? Like, listen, I got this. Watch me work, At the administrative level, you had to do that. And then you had to turn around and do that with the kids, right? Because every kid didn't know, where you would take them. So you had to sort of be selling yourself, like, to the administration, like, I got it, just watch me. And to the student body, I got it, just watch me. So I definitely applaud all of the hard work that you put in over the years. And I was happy for you when when College Board recognized you. I thought that was great, because I saw the work that through the summers and everything. I mean, you dedicated a lot of time to the students. They dedicated a lot of time, to get the instruction from you, but you put in a lot of work, a lot of time. 5 hours, what you said, 5 hours a day during the summer?
Yeah, it's the dream.
Oh my, yeah, right, Bez, but listen.
Who needs Disneyland?
But I want to say, listen, Bez, thank you for being on the Fearless Leader podcast, man. Definitely appreciate you. I know I'll be having you back on soon enough. Once you figure out that next thing that you want to do, I'm sure that'll be, across the globe. I'll be like, listen, he was on Fearless Leader podcast first, so we had him. But listen, Bez, I'm gonna end on that. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I'm out.